Today I will give you a quick overview about core banking performance optimizations with automation and intelligence. And basically, we at Performetriks, we are performance builders. We provide consulting services in the area of performance testing, load testing, monitoring. We're trusted partners for many financial service providers around the world and are for more than 20 years fully specialized on optimizing applications for speed and high throughput. I think especially in the financial service industry, decision makers are well aware that performance absolutely matters. Even in 1 second, which is something like a blink of an eye, customers can get easily frustrated. You will see page views going down, you will see less conversation, you will see even the revenue declines by 3%. On the other end, also the big player Netflix found out that after they turned on the compression, their bandwidth bill went down roughly about 40%. And these are all just performance topics. So you can save a lot of money if you take your performance challenges seriously and you focus more on these elements. We at Performetriks, we calculated in the last roughly 20 years statistics about in which areas do we point out performance problems. And the interesting part is nowadays in the infrastructure area, there are not too many performance problems nowadays, which makes it more complex for us performance engineers to go down to the root cause, to optimize the applications and to speed up these systems. On the other hand, these design and coding related performance problems are always difficult to detect and also not so easy to solve. The configuration area, it's kind of easier, but these code-related performance problems are a pain. Usually they are detected in worst case during your production phase or maybe during your user acceptance level testing. And it makes it really difficult to point out these issues and to fix these issues. Today, I would like also to introduce some of the most important performance pillars, which are most important from our perspective. Number 1, non-functional requirements. 2, quality gates. You need to visualize all these metrics. And last but not least, you also need to focus on the feedback loops, which are so important. So especially when you build complex systems, the challenge is always that you focus too much on the functional requirements. Sure, you will have business teams asking for more and more features. It's easy to neglect the non-functional part, and you could build a system that is probably working somehow, doing its job, but as soon as your production volume in terms of transactions, users comes in, nobody want to use it because it gets so slow. It is always stopping, it is crashing, and customers getting really frustrated. You would see a lot of escalations going on. And after you have done all the groundwork, you would figure out maybe you missed the non-functional requirements. So whenever you build systems, make the non-functional stuff part of your early design, analytics, and development phases, and also build in early performance testing as well. Number 2, from our perspective, you need to make sure that quality gates are in place because your developers will have a hard time to focus on performance budgets if they are not clear, if they are not specified. And even worse, you can easily deploy a not really optimized system to your testing or production stages if there are no quality gates in place. And quality gates nowadays are nothing you need to do manually. You can use the fantastic capabilities provided by Akamas and by Dynatrace as well to build in highly automated quality gates. And within a very short time, you would have this automated quality gate validation in place. Number 3, you should not only collect a lot of important metrics, you should also visualize them. Our experience is even in major financial service organizations, after they turned on meaningful dashboards, they installed big screens, charted the most important key performance metrics, they started a kind of automated performance improvement, because everyone was aware what are our current KPIs. Are we close to the target? Are we left behind? And then they started automatically, the engineers, to speed up and to tune their applications as well. So just turn on your dashboards, bring this important performance monitoring data to everyone's attention, send it out to business teams, development teams, and also visualize these metrics in your offices would be a big support. Last but not least, also the feedback loops are most important these days. You could easily run in a Stone Age behavior. You could collect a lot of technical depths and simply put more and more effort to deal with these technical depths. But the problem is this will hit back after a while. After you have too many these technical issues in place, you have too many workarounds, performance will go down and your operational effort will be higher and higher. So make sure that you have a nice feedback loop in place, not only from development to production, but also from production to development, because your developers, your test engineers, performance engineers must be well aware how is their application, their system working under production situations, and what might be the problems over there as well. Just to cut this story short, to deal with complexity as well, we need to simplify performance engineering with intelligence, and Dynatrace and Akamai are one of the most supportive solutions over there. If you use both products in your performance engineering pipeline, you're on a good track. You have all the capabilities in place basically to cut down the complexity and point out performance problems early in your development lifecycle. These days, it's all about proactivity, identifying these issues really early, and avoid that your users need to deal with all this user experience and reliability specific problems as well. In one of our previous performance engineering projects, this was a migration to TEMENOS T24. The big challenge was a system built for 20 years need to be migrated to T24, and everyone, understandable, was afraid of performance challenges. We supported this project by, in the first place, focusing on the non-functional requirements. We tried to figure out what is the current utilization, how many users, how many transactions, how many satellite systems, and what kind of infrastructure is supporting the current system that needs to be replaced. Once we had a clear understanding regarding the non-functional requirements, regarding the current system, we implemented something like a base stack, which was roughly 1 leg of the new T24 Transact TEMENOS system. We connected the interfaces, we ensured that end of day close of business was running, and we integrated an observability platform like Dynatrace, and we set up continuous load and performance testing. From our perspective, this was one of the most important success criteria. Having this early observability monitoring in place, bringing in this full code level insight, simplified not only for us performance engineers the job, but also the developers and functional testers were well aware even what kind of functional testing issues or code related issues were in this system, and especially during our early performance testing activities and this early performance monitoring as well, we pointed out a lot of problems which would impacted the production environment heavily. And in the last section, we also supported the go live. We ensured that code level monitoring was in place on production as well, not only for your T24 browser web use cases, but also down to the close of business to make sure simply that your close of business jobs were not causing major performance issues, that the night was still long enough to process all these end of day operations, and also to have something like a highly automated alerting in place and also understand the root cause in an automated fashion. So all in all, we were using, from a tooling perspective, Micro Focus Suite for the load testing, Dynatrace for monitoring of these T24 environments. We had up to 7,000 transactions per second during our load test activities. And in this entire project, we identified and fixed more than 500 performance-related defects. And imagine if this customer would have ignored performance testing, all these defects would be identified by real users and the frustrations would be very, very high. From our perspective, success factors in this T24 migration performance engineering project were: number one, shift left, start early. Don't wait till all the features are ready. You need to shift left and start performance analysis, performance monitoring as early as possible. The second element, the base stack. So cut down the complexity, focus on a smaller stack, do all the benchmarking on tuning and the early load testing on this base stack environment. Number three, you need a very good code level monitoring like Dynatrace, just to see what is going on in the system, just to avoid all these finger pointing activities, and simply provide good enough evidence when you identify performance issues so that you do not end up in long discussions with all your developers and infrastructure teams because you see everything and you have the root cause, probably highly automated, pointed out. Last but not least, also continuous performance testing and reliability testing is absolutely necessary. You need to treat this performance testing very similar like functional regression testing. It must be automated. You cannot do it manually and in a very, very short cycle. So ideally, you have a load test for each and every change in your environment in place. Yeah, this is the last slide today. I know it was a tough session. Listening to roughly 60, 90 minutes is not so easy. Probably you will look forward to your lunch break or a nice cup of coffee, but please take this last takeaway with you. Actually, performance is your most important feature. Keep in mind, if it fails, no one will use your product. So this is absolutely true. We have evidence in many, many projects. And I think if you remember your last big performance nightmare, it was probably a similar experience. So keep it in mind. It was a pleasure talking to you. And whenever you have problems, you want to speed up your systems, you need Dynatrace integration support or Akamai's integration support, we are here to help you and to guide you on your journey.